What's happening, crypto traders and investors? It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth. Happy hump day. It's Wednesday, June 8th. Hope you're well today. And in this short video, going to go over the stock HIVE Blockchain, ticker symbol HIVE on the NASDAQ. Had a lot of requests about this one lately and whether or not it's a good buy at these levels. And we'll take a look at some charting and some technical analysis, my thoughts and opinions on it. I'll talk about whether or not we can expect a big move incoming soon. And we're currently on our 7th month of consecutive consolidation. And I'll explain what that means here in just a moment. Before we get to it though, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. You can subscribe and tick the bell to be notified on any future videos. Before we jump into the charts, I want to take a look at this Yahoo Finance article. Essentially, Kevin O'Leary mentioned this back at the Bitcoin conference a couple of months ago, and he said that Bitcoin mining companies are in for a world of hurt. He goes on to say that, I'll just read through this real quickly. Shark Tank venture capitalist Kevin O'Leary discusses the new environmental-based regulation with President Joe Biden's executive order on the future of crypto. I will say one thing about the POTUS order. You'll notice deep buried in the back end of it is a comment about climate change, and that is a direct swipe at Bitcoin mining companies. They're all great companies that were mining Bitcoin and using carbon offsets to claim carbon neutrality. Well, if you read the POTUS order, and even worse to that, the memo from the SEC in the last few weeks, they're going to require audits of those carbon credits. Now, everybody knows carbon credits are BS because there's no way to audit it. There's no ledger. You can't do an activity that creates carbon and say you bought an acre of Amazon rainforest and say they offset each other, right? But the SEC order contemplates asking an auditor to sign that statement, just like a financial statement every quarter. In the case of those companies that I had indexed for ownership in Bitcoin, I sold them all because they've got a world of hurt coming. And he was pretty much bang on, right? We know that Riot's been downtrending and down, I would say, I think close to 80%. We'll just take a quick look here from its recent, actually over 90% it's down. So he was absolutely correct. It's been getting destroyed, and I currently do not own any HIVE. That's a full disclosure. I don't own any Riot at the moment either. And I tend to agree with him, right? Like, we know that Bitcoin and the broader market was starting to see a lot of bearish momentum, and we knew that we were likely due for some massive pullback, at least a 10 to 20% pullback. We can't run hundreds of percent and not be due for a 10 or 20% pullback, especially, the S&P 500, which almost hit 500 there, and Bitcoin at 70K. We know that nothing goes in a straight line forever, and nothing goes down in a straight line forever either, right? So we're currently on our 7th month of consolidation, which just means that we have a lower high every single candle, and we haven't had a monthly bounce in the last 7 months. In order to start the monthly bounce, we would need to break the high of the previous monthly candle, and you can see that that's at $8. So that's likely not going to happen anytime soon. We have a monthly inside bar. We're just tracking the broader market. So SPY is a monthly inside bar, a weekly inside bar. Same with HIVE, same with Bitcoin. We also had a reverse split, a 1-for-5 on HIVE as well. And that just occurred here back on May 24th. And there's a multitude of reasons why they do that. But essentially, that's going to help them maintain their listing here on the NASDAQ, which they should be good for the foreseeable future, right? But we'll just go over a few highlights here. So 7 consecutive months of consolidation, which means that we're likely due for a bounce at some point soon. We still have 22 days left in this candle. So is it possible that we start the monthly bounce this month? It is possible, but essentially we would have to run about 100% in order to start the monthly bounce. So the most likely scenario, in my opinion, is that we're likely going to tighten up, and we're going to see this monthly inside bar into next month, and then we may get a break into July. We know that we have a ton of bullish catalysts coming up. There could be a spot Bitcoin ETF approval. We know Grayscale just hired somebody who worked for the Obama administration, and they're going to be hiring them to help with the SEC and ETF approval with the SEC, right? That decision is likely due at some point in June or July, they said. So we could potentially see that at some point this month, next month. I think it's more than likely going to be next month, just based on the size of these ranges from the monthly inside bars. So like I said, we're going to be watching that monthly inside bar and another potential for another monthly inside bar into next week or into next month, right? Because we'd have to run 100%. And if we run 100% and we break the high of last month's candle, how much follow through are we really going to see from here? How many, the bulls are going to be tired, right? And then at that point, we would likely be due for a pullback. So I don't think we're going to see any major monthly bounce occur anytime soon. Like I said, I think it's going to be next month, if not the month after that. But we know Bitcoin was in 9 weeks in a row in the red, which was a record. And we're now 7 months of pullback here. We did have a slight green month here in February, but we're essentially 7 months in a row now, and we're expecting a break here at some point. We don't go straight down forever, right? So we would expect it at some point soon, in my opinion. We also had a bear cross on the monthly time frame on Riot, which we'll look at here in a second, but we haven't saw the bear cross yet on HIVE. So you can see here monthly EMA 12 and 26 is getting dangerously close, and that means that if we do get that bear cross, that means that we could see more downside, and we would be looking at support here somewhere around this previous high. I'd be looking somewhere around that 310 area, but the low of the pullback here is at 355. So if we do lose 355, then watch that $3 area, that 310 area. Been unable to close over weekly EMA 12, and you can see here that ever since we had that high there at $28, right, factoring in the reverse split, we entered a weekly downtrend here. It was a weekly bear flag. We had a lower high and lower low. We're still in a weekly downtrend, so it's all bears at the moment. Daily inverse head and shoulders we can be watching for as well. It just means that we have this horizontal neckline of support, resistance rather, because it's an inverse head and shoulders. And then we have the left shoulder, head, right shoulder. If we take the measured move, that would take us up to around the 590s, around $6. And keep in mind, this is USD, charting it on the NASDAQ. And zooming out back here to the monthly, what else did I have? We had a death cross as well that occurred in January. So if you go back here and you look at the 50-day moving average crossing downwards through the 200-day moving average, we had a huge warning and heads up that we could potentially see a lot more downside. If you exited just at that death cross, that would have been somewhere around the $9, $8 area. That would have saved you about 50%, if not more, of downside just from acting on that bearish signal alone, right? And we know that QQQ, SPY, Bitcoin was seeing death crosses as well. And we knew that we were due for pullback, right? Nothing, like I said, nothing goes in a straight line forever. And if we take a look at Riot as well, Riot had a descending triangle here on the log scale. If you toggle log, you can see here that we've met our target here of, what is it, 579? Yeah, 579. We get as low as 582. So we actually pulled back a little bit more than what the target was showing. And like I said, we had that monthly EMA bear cross that occurred. So the fact that it has already happened on Riot increases the odds that we see that on HIVE as well. And a lot of people are thinking that Bitcoin's likely going to go test its weekly 200 moving average, which was down at 22K. So that would line up well for a bear cross on HIVE and a little bit more downside. And then we would target that 310 area on HIVE and Riot. If we do lose the low there, if we break below the recent low, the local low at 582, we'll be looking at a higher low back here on the price action at 235. So we got a long way to go. I personally, it's hard to imagine that we're going to go straight there. We'd have to really see Bitcoin capitulate, in my opinion, and likely go back to test that weekly moving average at to 200 weekly at 22K. It's possible. But like I said, we're more than likely due for a relief rally at some point. And you can see here we're a monthly inside bar on Riot as well. $5 psychological will be a nice round support to be watching. So if we do pull back from here, if we lose the recent low here at 582 on Riot, then we'll be looking for a test of support test of $5. If we lose $5, it could be getting extreme. We could be heading all the way down to that $2.35 area. Like I said, Bitcoin starting the weekly bounce, but this week is a weekly inside bar as well. So we're going to be watching Bitcoin. It's a bear flag at the moment on Bitcoin, so it's not looking that great here on the weekly time frame. And if we do see a bounce up to those EMAs, we could see a relief rally up to around 34 to 39K. But keep in mind, we're still in a weekly downtrend. We still need to top out on the weekly, form a higher low, followed by a higher high, and change that weekly trend. But we're also well below the 10-week moving average here on HIVE. We did have a bull cross here on the stochastic, and we're starting to see a bit of a curl here on the MACD. And I'm going to be watching $6 as a nice resistance to be watching, because we have 617 there, the 10-week moving average. We also have the 200 weekly moving average on HIVE there at 604, and we have the daily the 50-day moving average there at 704. So I'm going to be watching $6 as strong resistance if we do bounce. But keep in mind, it's a monthly inside bar, and we're more than likely not going to see a break of it this month, in my opinion, just because it's about 100% away. Anything can change that, though, right? If news comes out that a Bitcoin spot ETF, then we could absolutely shoot up 100 to 200% on a name like HIVE that's been absolutely destroyed over the last few months. If you could, smash the like. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me. Do you think we're going to see more downside? Do you think Bitcoin needs to go back down and test that 200 weekly moving average? Do you think we're going to see a monthly bear cross on HIVE on the EMAs just like we did on Riot? Always love hearing from you. If you could smash the like on your way out, I would appreciate it. Help support me in the channel. Doesn't cost you anything. You can subscribe, tick the bell to be notified on any future updates. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you in the next video.